What's up, y'all? Psychog here with a little compare and contrast video. So I've been playing a lot of Jurassic World Evolution and its spiritual predecessor, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. And I've basically completed both games. I've done all the missions, all the exercises. I've gotten a 5-star park, and I've done some little Site B nonsense on this game, as well as I've gotten all 5-star parks in the main islands, and I've been playing around on Isla Nublar, the 6th island, in order to, kind of figure out some of these differences and stuff. So basically, I'm trying to be as objective as I can when comparing these games, but, I'll try. While I feel in this video I list some of the major similarities and differences, I'm also creating a Google Doc where I go into more detail about the differences and similarities in this game. So if you guys notice anything that I do not mention in this video, please comment, and I will make sure to include that in the doc. So in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you basically expand your park and the reach of your island through getting increased star ratings, while in Jurassic World Evolution, it's about, yes, getting star ratings, but it's mostly about completing missions for different factions, who can also sabotage your buildings and make your life completely more frustrating than it needs to be. While in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, there is no sabotage and all workers behave in an appropriate manner for the job. So first, let's compare the title screens of the two games and what you can do. So in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, there are a total of really 5 things that you're going to be doing in this game. You're going to be doing Operation Genesis, which is basically create your own island. There's going to be exercises, which basically functions as a tutorial for this game. Missions, which are kind of like the story mode. I mean, there's something, but you use this to unlock Site B, which is, basically a free mode where you just build dinosaurs and watch them run around and do whatever they want to do. And you can also load games of different Site B maps or different Operation Genesis maps that you've been on. So really right here we have a lot of different things we can do in this game versus Jurassic World Evolution, where really all you can do is start a new game, load another game, or continue a previous load game. Not really all that much you can do there. However, despite the fact that Jurassic World Evolution really only has one game mode, that single game mode does incorporate all these different features that you can find in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. So, you have the basic island, create a park thing. You have somewhat of a tutorial. I mean, it's pretty basic, not really all that in-depth on how to play the game. There are missions that happen within each island map, so it's kind of like that, and Site B is basically Isla Nublar, except, you're basically building another park versus building completely free-roaming dinosaurs. Moving on from the title screen in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, let's just go to Operation Genesis mode right over here. You can see that you have a lot of freedom when choosing your island. So you can basically adjust the amount of mountains you have, you can adjust the amount of rivers you have, you can adjust the amount of trees that are on the park, and you can adjust the shape of the island. So this is basically, you can choose how difficult you want the game to be. So, if you want limited space, you can start off with a small island, but if you want a really big square with no mountains and whatever, then you can do that. So this is kind of like how you adjust the difficulty in this game, in a way. Also, when you start an island, so basically you have much more freedom to choose. So in this game, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you can choose where you want your starting point to be, and then you can choose where to build off from there. So right here, I can build the park entrance anywhere I want. Anywhere I want. I don't have to be limited to a single spot where people are going to come from, and that's the problem in Jurassic World Evolution, is that a lot of the times the park entrance is in a very crap location that is very hard to build around, and so most of your parks will have this kind of samey feel to them because they're all going to be built around that park entrance, and there's not really too much freedom of choice you can do here. Let's look at the build limit between both games. So in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you basically could use the whole island for building. So anywhere on this island I could just throw down buildings. I can do whatever I want to do that. However, in Jurassic World Evolution, you have boundaries on your island. So even though dinosaurs can walk out the boundaries, you can't build or manipulate the environment outside of that. And that's kind of a hindrance in sort of like, making large unique islands. However, the thing with Jurassic Park Opportunity Genesis is that all buildings have limit, so you can't build really large expansive parks in this game because you can't really build all that many buildings because their numbers are limited. But I guess you have the freedom to put them anywhere you want, so that's a plus. Versus Jurassic World Evolution, you're limited by the space versus the actual number of buildings you can place. When comparing the buildings between both games, they all basically serve the same purpose. You create buildings to basically have people view the dinosaurs, and you have buildings to meet the needs of the people, like eating and shopping, what have you. Biggest difference between Jurassic Park Operation Genesis and Jurassic World is that there are no bathrooms in Jurassic World Evolutions, and there's a bit more variety in the different types of buildings you can see. So there's different meters that are present in that game. So there's the fun, there's the food, there's the drink, and there's the shopping meters, while in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis there's just the food, bathroom, and happiness. So there's more variety in Jurassic World Evolution to kind of accommodate those different needs. There's also one of the biggest difference between them is that in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, buildings come with preset paths, so it's easier to connect them to your park versus Jurassic World Evolution where you have to manually connect everything. Like, it's just really annoying. But also another thing is in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you can build certain buildings without having to connect them to a path, which can be very useful in order to make, like, things like this that you see over here. And, if you wanted to build enclosures that people can't see because you're not finished with it yet, you can do that. You have the freedom here to do that in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, versus you have to connect everything to paths. Also, another difference is in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, there are cleaner stations, which they basically come out and they, send janitors out and they go around and they clean the park. This is different from the system in Jurassic World Evolution where they have basically power stations, which they just basically give power to buildings, so there's a difference in that type of functionality. The last difference in buildings between these two games is that with Jurassic World Evolution, buildings can have attachments placed on them which can improve their functionality in different areas, while in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, the only real thing you can do is change the name of certain buildings to make them more appealing to different park guests who might have a different desire in what they want to see in their dinosaurs. When looking at the environmental tool differences between Jurassic Park Operation Genesis and Jurassic World, they basically do the same thing. Like, there's the water tool, there's the tree tools. Well, there's two tree tools in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, in that you have modern trees and paleo trees, which paleo trees are better for dinosaurs that eat them. Basically, in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, there is sort of an annoying thing where if you try to flatten or do anything around buildings, you're not allowed to do it. While in Jurassic World Evolution, you have a greater freedom in which you put water and flatten land and stuff. So it's a much better tool in that you're not limited by just trying to do stuff with buildings all that much. Looking at people in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you can click on them and you can see their likes, their money, how secure, how happy, how hungry, how tired, how much they use the bathroom, how happy. You can see all these different stats when looking at a person. You can go through different guests and they can tell you how many dinosaurs they've seen, and they can just basically tell you a little bit about themselves, their name. So in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, visitors are very independent and very unique from each other, versus in Jurassic World Evolution where you can't see the stats of the people, you can't see what they have seen, you can't see what they like, you can't see about their person. It's very, limiting in the stuff, how you can interact with the people, and it's kind of unfortunate that in Jurassic World Evolution, the people seem the most alive when they are basically getting killed by carnivores, which is kind of hilarious, but Jurassic Park Operation Genesis really did have a lot of different things you can do with the guests and see from them. Also, in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, guests actually had to wait in line, and they actually interact with the buildings. So they actually like go in and do stuff. Versus in Jurassic World Evolution, they kind of just phase into buildings and kind of just come out eventually. But this game, Jurassic World Genesis, they actually interact with the stuff around them, and they have to go through elevators or wait in line, do all sorts of stuff to kind of make them seem much more real in their behaviors. In both games, you can fly helicopters and drive cars, but the big difference is in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you only really have like one place you can fly, like just one altitude you can fly at, and in this game you have much more control over your helicopter. So you can, tranquilize dinosaurs, you can shoot medications. You can basically do all sorts of things that in Jurassic World Evolution they split some of the jobs between the two, between the helicopter and the cars. While in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, cars are simply only used for entertainment. You can take pictures with them. Well, I mean, you can do it in both games, but cars had a much more security-related function than entertainment. But yeah, in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you've used the helicopter for basically for literally everything, except for taking pictures for things. But you can use helicopters for immunizing species of different diseases in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis versus Jurassic World.
Jurassic Park. As our most talented photographer, I think you're the only person who can do our dinosaurs justice.
So when looking at the map between the two games, in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, it's pretty limited. I mean, you can see kind of the outlines of buildings, the paths, guests, and the dinosaurs, with green being herbivores and red being carnivores. It's not really too much you can see. I mean, if a dinosaur breaks out of its enclosure, you'll see red marks on the fences where stuff is broken. But in Jurassic World Evolution, it's much more detailed in that you can see all sorts of different things, like how the dinosaur is, their comfort levels, their health. It's a bit more interactive with it versus this game. But I mean, the maps basically serve the same purpose of just getting around everywhere very quickly, and for kind of seeing if there's basic issues. Also, when comparing the weather of the game, so in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you can view the weather from the map, and in this game, there's a lot of different weather conditions. There's rainstorms, there's sunny, there's heat waves, and there's tornadoes. So there's a lot of different variety in weather versus Jurassic World Evolution, which just kind of has just normal day and rainy day and stormy day and tornado day. But this game also has temperature. So Jurassic Park Operation has temperature, which basically, I think it has an effect on the metabolic rates and the happiness of some dinosaurs, but it's not really all that big. Oh, what is happening here? But it's not really all that big, so it's not really something you have to worry about. One of the key differences between these two games is that in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, for researching new technology, as well as for digging up dinosaurs and extracting their DNA, there are no buildings for these things whatsoever, versus in Jurassic World Evolution, where you have to basically create new buildings on each island in order to do these processes. Also, another difference, like when looking at like fossil extraction, which is really cool in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, amber, you do not know what type of genome the amber possesses until you actually have extracted it, so it's a gamble. Also, there's a thing called the fossil market, where if there's any dinosaurs you don't have the complete genome for, you can basically buy those fossils in order to get them. They can be pretty expensive, but they can be useful for completing the genome for a lot of things. Another difference between Jurassic World Evolution and Jurassic Park Operation Genesis is the fossil site. So In Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, when you go to sites, you basically can just put your teams in there, and they will just constantly dig through until you remove them. Versus in Jurassic World Evolution, where you have to constantly send them back out to different sites and pay for the expeditions. But the thing with Jurassic World Evolution is that there are much more dig sites, and you can dig in every single dig site in the game. Versus Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you're limited to the amount of dig sites you can have per park, which in turn means that you can have much less different species of dinosaurs. While in Jurassic World, you can have essentially all the dinosaurs in one playthrough. So in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you create dinosaurs with the hatchery, same as how you use the creation lab in Jurassic World Evolution. However, the difference in this game is that you can create 1 to 5 of one species at once, and in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, the dinosaurs immediately come out when they are done being created. Also, you can cancel creations pretty easily, but yeah, they come out immediately once they're finished creating. And also, when you go to a hatchery, the hatchery will be locked onto the most recent dinosaur they created, so it's easier to recreate species when they die in this game. And so, looking at some of the stats of dinosaurs, I mean, they have similar needs in comparison. So, in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, predators have the need to hunt, a need to eat food, need to drink water, a need to sleep, a happiness and health level. You can also see how old they are, how much DNA is complete, how many kills they've gotten, and what they're trying to do, as well as all the different things that they've been immunized against. So it's pretty easy to take care of dinosaurs. Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, just fill these certain needs and they'll be fine. So with predators, even though it seems like the game wants you to build a lot of like high security fences and stuff, you really don't need that. As long as you just keep food, water in there, they should be relatively fine. But looking at herbivores, they have a need for socialization and forest, so that helps keep them happy, and they just like to be around all sorts of things. But a big difference between Jurassic World Evolution and Jurassic Park Operation Genesis is that herbivores and carnivores for that matter, are easily stressed out in Jurassic World Evolution from environmental things. So if they have too many trees or too much grass in Jurassic World Evolution, then they're going to go mad and want to break out and kill people. Versus in Jurassic Park, I mean, you can just kind of stuff them in an enclosure with some trees, some grass, some water, and they'll be fine. They don't really care all that much comparatively. So it's much easier to create a free-roaming island in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis because herbivores can feed themselves without requiring you to feed them, and you don't have to worry about connecting paths or having operational guests on Site B. So it's better if you're looking for like a free-roam dinosaur mode in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. Forgot to mention, dinosaurs have herding mechanics and leadership in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, while in Jurassic World there really does not seem to be any form of packing or social structures. They kind of just run around and do whatever. They don't seem to have a leader they follow. It's just kind of limiting, and it's kind of unfortunate because in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, you know, you can see pack hunting behaviors in velociraptors as well as pack following in this game. But in Jurassic World Evolution, dinosaurs tend, since they can move randomly, they'll move away from their supposed friends and basically stress themselves out on purpose in a way because they don't really follow each other to stay close, you know? Last but not least, even though the games are very similar in most regards, with, you know, some minor differences in some things here or there, the biggest difference between these two games when it comes to the dinosaurs is genetic modification. So in Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, the only thing you can really modify in the game was the lifespan of the dinosaurs by simply getting more of the genome from fossils and amber. While in Jurassic World Evolution, you can change the appearance of different dinosaurs. You can change their stats, their ratings, by changing their genetic codes. So there's a lot of different variety when it comes to dinosaurs and just how you want to make them in Jurassic World Evolution versus Jurassic Park Operation Genesis. So when looking at both of these games comparatively, really, I would say Jurassic Park Operation Genesis is more about the freedom of placing buildings in parks, while Jurassic World Evolution is more about the freedom in customizing dinosaurs. And that's what I would say overall the difference is. So thanks for watching, and see you guys later with more videos.